Hello, hello, Miss Carla.
Hi, honey.
How you doing?
So good or to be here. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so good for us both to be here on this ridiculous snowy day in New York.
Yeah, it looks beautiful from your view. I love it.
Thank you. I've been watching it. It's been super distracting today. It's coming down. Uh, I'm so happy that you are here and that this is actually now the second time we are in conversation around one of my favorite topics, which is, drumroll please, integrity.
Integrity.
I would love to start with kind of quickly introducing to my folks on YouTube that Carla is one of my dearest friends and a fellow coach. She works in transformational coaching and is spectacular, and also an actress and singer and just Renaissance woman of the highest order. So we have spoken previously on Carla's Instagram and had a conversation around integrity. And because we both loved it so much, we wanted to bring it to this place too and kind of dig back in. So, from that, I would love to start with, let's go easy. How do you define integrity? What's integrity to you?
Yeah. So when we talked about it, I came up with kind of a very short and sweet thing. And what works for me is the idea that integrity for me is doing what I say and saying what I mean. And when I say that, I'm basically saying my actions and my intentions and my words
Oh,
are all in alignment.
yeah, that is, that's the place that when I look, um, was really groundbreaking for me. I related so frequently to integrity as you're either in it or you're out. You have
Hmm.
integrity or you don't. And because of that, it created a stigma for me that it was a place to be wrong, disappoint,
Yeah.
rather than this kind of definition that you're looking at of, am I saying what I mean? Are my words and actions in line with my intention?
Yeah.
And that for me really opened up the door to actually look at integrity as not just one thing, not just in or out, but where are the places in our lives that we can be in and out of integrity. I don't know for you if there's any that come to mind, but I would love to hear kind of the places that you hold yourself to integrity.
Yeah. I think the easiest is with words. I give a lot of power to my words. Especially when I share them with other people. So if I tell someone I'm going to do something, I can usually depend on myself to do that. And I think where I get out of integrity really easily is with my intentions. Um, and it's not that I'm saying like I have a bad intention or good or bad intention. It's just like it gets a little muddy.
Mm,
And I kind of second guess myself, or I decide that my intention might be for someone else as opposed to what is going to actually serve me.
mhm.
Um, and it's really, and I think what gets muddy is I'll talk myself out of something because I'm like, well, this is going to be better for this situation, but really not. Um, I'm not keeping integrity with myself, with like my own well-being and with like my own purpose and what I say I want to create. I'll just like ignore that for the sake of other people, which yeah, I trick myself into saying, well, that's the right thing to do. I give myself that right wrong context. But really it's kind of an excuse to not show up fully as myself.
Huge. And take those moments and say, if I were showing up completely from integrity, showing up as myself, what might be different? Or how might it feel different? And that's where I'm like, well, it's night and day. Feels
Yeah.
completely different. I think hearing you kind of describe that for me brings me to the question of, where am I falling out? And I think we talked about this previously, and it's so clear. It's like actions in neon light. Like the words, the intention, they feel so clear. And obviously, like I don't shut up. The words are not hard for me. That's my favorite place to go always. And then I'll look at the intention behind it. And I mean, when I say I, want to make healthier choices in 2021, and I'll look at that intention. It's real. I'll share it. I'll say it to you. I'll share it with my fiance. And then all of a sudden, a week passes, 2 weeks pass. I'm like, and what had me bake 1 cake and 2 batches of cupcakes this weekend? Is that aligned with that goal? Is that in integrity? And that's one place that I'm curious to ask you, when you think about those sorts of things that maybe feel good in the moment or excite you in some way, but aren't necessarily in integrity with something else you've communicated. So now we're out, or are there softer ways for us to treat those kind of human experiences? We go out for drinks, it's amazing, but probably I don't feel the best the next day, but I was in connection with you. We had an amazing night. I don't regret a moment of it. Like, how do we kind of find that balance?
What I loved hearing in coaching was that you're not never, but it's rare that you're completely in integrity. And once I understood that it's just walking the balance every moment of every day, I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to hold myself to these ridiculous standards that don't exist for anyone. I mean, maybe they do for some monk somewhere in a cave on a side of a mountain. Perhaps they're able to keep that. But if you are in the real world, you're going to go in and out of integrity. You're going to say you're going to do something and you're not going to do it. You're going to also say things that you might not really mean. You might just speak out of turn. You might speak impulsively.
Not really think it through.
Yeah. And the practice is being aware of when you're out. I think that's really the practice. Being aware that integrity is a thing and that you can be in and out of it, and to notice when you're out. Because what I have found is when the closer that you are in integrity with yourself, the better your life goes.
Yeah.
And the happier you are.
You just feel more settled in yourself. The other thing that's making me think of, like, we had the conversation about, okay, so where are you maybe falling out? Words, actions, intentions. But another cool conversation, I think, is what are the areas in your life that you're falling out or falling out most frequently? Is it with your family? Because it's easy to make promises to family and not follow through. They won't get mad. Or just the opposite. Is it never with your family because there's so much pressure? Is it in your job? Is it in your well-being, wellness? And that's a place I also think is super interesting to look. Does any stick out for you as a go-to?
I don't know if I have a go-to, but I definitely notice, like, it's kind of the most important place to look is where you want to make the most impact in your life. I think it's so easy to say, I want to do these big things, and then to have an excuse for why you don't do it, as opposed to looking like, where am I out of integrity? Where am I saying I'm going to work on this or turn something in, or just where am I not holding myself accountable to what I say I want?
Yeah. And where, to that point, where are the big things made like forgiven, or where are the excuses for the big things and the really little things? Like, my dream is to write a book. So what's the reason I haven't written the book? Oh, because I had to go to CVS and get toothpaste. Like, fine if that's really the reason, but for me, that becomes a really solid place to look. That's not why I haven't written a book.
Yeah.
That isn't it.
No. And the funny thing about integrity is you may not even have to know why. You may just need to notice where you're out and just do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of cool thing about integrity is you don't have to go into the deep recesses of your subconscious to figure out why you're not doing something. You don't have to. You could actually just be like, what would happen if I actually just did what I said I was going to do?
Yeah.
And meant it.
Yep. I think you and I talked about this in our last conversation, and the piece that really stood out to me was, at least for me, I have so many to-do lists for my to-do list where I make it clear what I intend to do. Words are there. I wrote them down. And then rather than just take one of those things on the to-do list and do it, what ends up happening is I just rewrite the to-do list. The words and intent are still there, but the action is not in service of actually completion or getting one of these things done. It's just in service of kicking it down the road a little further.
Yeah. And I also think it can be fun to just work on one part of integrity for a week. Like that would make a significant difference. If you just were like, okay, for this week, I'm actually going to write the to-do list once and then do it and just see if that makes a difference in my life.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
You're coaching me right now. You can't help yourself.
It's for the benefit of all. And I notice that's how I get stuff done. Like with my music, I would think about it for years. I'd think about songs and not do them. And then when I just realized like, oh, you're out of integrity. You're saying you want to make music and you're not actually doing it. What would happen if you just did it? If you just wrote a song every month and now I have songs that are written and recorded just because, without really looking at like, ooh, why am I not doing this? I can look at that, or I could just do it.
Yep. I also think that brings up the point of working with coaches and what we get out of these conversations. Exactly what you said. With your coach and in partnership, you can dig in if you're saying that deeper recess conversation, why this keeps happening, why I fall out of integrity in these areas I want to dig into. And you can also lean on your coach to say, is this going to serve us to go way back? Because if not, what do you want to do this week?
Yeah, I love that. Because you can spend a good hour every week just digging in there, getting in the recesses. And then you can spend the rest of the week actually just practicing taking some action.
Totally.
You can get it both.
It just makes me realize like, here are the little places I can go. And for example, you brought it up on this call. I'm writing one to-do list this week. 1, I don't need 5. I don't need a rewrite. I don't have to type it and handwrite it. And I don't need to use a different color pen for the Wednesday one. I'm doing 1.
It does sound fun though. The process does sound fun. I could see why you'd get sucked in.
Exactly. I obviously get into using all my colored pens, but
it sounds like a dream.
But it is just cool to realize, to your point, we can pick small places, practice areas to take a look.
Yeah.
And we can start trying it immediately and just build that muscle, just practice.
Yeah. And surprise yourself, see what happens.
Totally. Well, I could talk to you about this for 100 years, and I would love, love, love to have you back to have additional conversations about integrity.
I would love to be back. It would be so fun. Thanks for inviting me. This is great.
Thank you so much for being here. And then I will put in the comment section for everybody Carla's information and where you can find her. And thank you everyone for joining this, and Carla for being here. You are the greatest.
You are. Love you.
Snow day.
Happy snow.
Bye.